Some people think having a lot of cash is the only way to buy a home in today's super competitive real estate market. And it's true that multiple offers and bidding wars are more common today than in the past. But there are other ways to get a home besides paying all cash or submitting the highest offer. Another approach is to remove some of the contingencies that sellers hate, like clean home inspection or buyer's mortgage approval. I'm Rich Valadez with Rich Realty, and on this week's episode of Knowledge Rich, I talk about the appraisal contingency and what buyers and sellers in our area need to know. If you are considering buying or selling, give me a call to discuss this and other strategies I'm using to help my buyer and seller clients win big in today's real estate market. If you're searching for drama, don't limit yourself to Netflix. Instead, tune into the real estate market where the competition among buyers has never been fiercer. And with homes selling for record highs, the appraisal process, historically a standard part of the home purchase, is receiving more attention than ever. That's because some sellers are finding out the hard way that a strong offer can fizzle quickly when an appraisal comes in below the contract price. Traditionally, the sale of a home is contingent on a satisfactory valuation, but in a rapidly appreciating market, it can be difficult for appraisals to keep pace with rising prices. Thus, many sellers in today's market favor buyers who are willing to guarantee their full offer price, even if the property appraises for less. For the buyer, that could require a financial leap of faith that the home is a solid investment. It also means that they may need to come up with additional cash at closing to cover the gap. Whether you're a buyer or a seller, it's never been more important to understand the appraisal process and how it can be impacted by a quickly appreciating and highly competitive housing market. It's also crucial to work with a skilled real estate agent who can guide you to a successful closing without overpaying if you're a buyer or overcompensating if you're a seller. So what is an appraisal? An appraisal is an objective assessment of a property's market value performed by an independent, licensed appraiser. Mortgage lenders require an appraisal to lower their risk of loss in the event a buyer defaults on their loan. It provides assurance that the home value meets or exceeds the amount being lent for its purchase. A licensed appraiser will analyze the property's condition and review the value of comparable properties that have recently sold. Mortgage borrowers are usually expected to pay the cost of an appraisal. These fees are often due up front and are non-refundable. If you're a cash buyer, you may choose, but are not obligated, to order an appraisal. In more balanced markets, an appraisal contingency is a standard inclusion in a home purchase offer. It enables the buyer to make the closing of the transaction dependent on a satisfactory appraisal, wherein the value of the property is at or near the purchase price. This helps to reassure the buyer and their lender that they are paying fair market value for the home and allows them to cancel the contract if the appraisal is lower than expected. Low appraisals are not common, but they are more likely to happen in a rapidly appreciating market, like the one we're experiencing now. That's because appraisers must use comparable sales, comps, to determine a property's value. These could include homes that went under contract weeks or even months ago. With home prices rising so quickly, today's comps may be lagging behind the market's current reality. Thus, the appraiser could be basing their assessment on stale data, resulting in low valuation. How does a low appraisal impact buyers and sellers? When a property appraises for less than contract price, you end up with an appraisal gap. In more balanced markets, that could be cause for renegotiation. But in today's market, sellers often hold the upper hand. That's why some buyers are using the potential for an appraisal gap as a way to strengthen their offers. They're proposing to take on some or all of the risk of a low appraisal by adding a full or partial appraisal waiver to their offer. Some buyers with a higher risk tolerance and the financial means may be willing to waive the appraisal contingency altogether. However, this strategy isn't for everyone and must be considered on a case-by-case basis. For those buyers who only have a certain amount saved to cover the gap, the partial waiver is a better option. Let's take a look at an example. Let's say a home is listed for $200,000 and the buyer offers $220,000 with a $20,000 partial waiver, meaning the property has to appraise for at least $200,000. Now, let's say the property appraises for $205,000. The buyer would be responsible for paying the $15,000 gap in cash directly to the seller because in most cases, mortgage companies won't lend more than a certain percentage of the appraised value. The percentage varies depending on the type of loan, property type, and down payment. Now, if the home appraised for $195,000, with the partial waiver, the buyer and seller could renegotiate the price at that point, or the buyer could walk away and receive their earnest money back. It is important to remember that waiving an appraisal contingency can leave a buyer vulnerable if the appraisal comes back much lower than the contract price. Without an appraisal contingency, a buyer will be obligated to cover the difference or be forced to walk away from the transaction and relinquish their earnest money. Be sure you have enough money saved for your down payment, closing costs, and appraisal gap. I help my clients calculate this so they know exactly how much they'll be writing that check for at closing. It's vital that both buyers and sellers understand the benefits and risks involved with these and other competitive tactics that are becoming more commonplace in today's market. I can help you chart the best course of action given your individual circumstances. Don't waive your right to the best representation. There's never been a market quite like this. That's why you need a master negotiator on your side who has the skills, instincts, and experience to get the deal done no matter what surprises may pop up along the way. If you're a buyer, I can help you compete in this unprecedented market without getting steamrolled. If you're a seller, I know how to get top dollar for your home by closing buyer outs and minimizing hassle and stress. Contact me today to schedule a complimentary consultation. Thank you for watching.